Hey, read through the word. Today is April 16th, and today's lesson is called The Hatred of a King. We talked about the cry of the heart yesterday. And today, and I told you, as we continue in our reading, I want you to do the lovely compare and contrast paper in your head or in your notes. Do it in your notes. Make you a nice little chart. I'm all about a chart. Make you a chart of the things to compare about David and Saul. So as you're looking, like 1 Samuel is really telling us more about the beginning of the kingdom and the heart of Saul, who Saul has no heart for God. And then we'll move into David in the book of 2 Samuel, and David has a whole heart for God. Doesn't mean he's perfect. Doesn't mean that at all. But I want us to look at where Saul is and talk about where Saul is going to end up compared to where he began and what God is doing here. So, specifically, we're going to look at 1 Samuel 22, verses 17 through 20 is what I want us to read together. So, it says this. So, as we know, Ahimelech and the priest have helped David. And they considered him part of the royal family because he's married to one of Saul's daughters, and that had given him food and all this. And then now he's got a military guy with him named is Doeg, but I say it as the southern dog because it's Doeg or something, but we're gonna call him Dog because that's what he's acting like. He's acting like dog. And that's how I do it when I teach this part. Because when I've taught it in other classes. Because it really fits him. So let's talk about it. It says this. Killed the priest of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, and they didn't tell me. But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priest. And then David said to Doeg, you do it. So Doeg the Edomite, turned on them and killed them that day. 85 priests in all. Doeg, that's why he's Dog, all by himself, does this. Man, that was really southern. Okay. And he killed the priests' families, the men, the women, the children, the babies, and all the cattle, the donkeys, the sheep, and the goats. Only Abiathar, one of the sons of Ahimelech, escaped and fled to David. And then David takes him in and takes care of it. So, let's take a look at that. And, oh my word, there's just so much here. I seem like I say that every single day. But first, so 1 Samuel 17 records, let's back up and see how we got here. David killing Goliath, which we talked about the other day. And Saul's jealousy begins because all the people start to love David. And Saul's like, yeah, no, this is not happening. So, and then 1 Samuel 18 records Saul starts pursuing David to kill him. He wants David's life. And so what you're going to see is if you track this as, remember that downward spiral we talked about in the book of Judges? You see the downward spiral in the mind of Saul throughout this book. It's a downward spiral in rebellion against God. So even so far he accuses his own son, Jonathan, of conspiring with David to kill him. None of the time is David trying to kill Saul. It's all in Saul's head. Saul has created this huge thing because of his own insecurities, and then he keeps going after David and after David and after David and after David. And so far that now he's killing people that even helped David and killing God's priests and all of their family. And how he finds out about it is that our little guy Doeg, the Edomite. Okay, y'all gonna make fun of me on that one, but that's okay. But they're conspiring against Saul, so Saul orders him to do it, like, because his own army won't do it because they're like, these are God's guys. We're not going to touch them. And Doeg says, I'll do it. And so he does. And he kills 85 priests, all their wives, all their children, all their animals. is awful. And what is the beauty of this is this, what's in our reading as well, is we get David's heart. So if we're going to look about the hatred of a king, what is David's response to this? And David's response is actually Psalm 52, which is in our reading as well. And he calls out evil for evil. He records that. And that's in, actually, or something old today, I put that how David is able to recognize the evil at work here. So, as we get to all of this, okay, this is the king. This is the first king. God had to know what was going on. What is this telling us? What should we learn from this? That this man who's been allowed onto the throne of Israel is an insane man. He is insecure. He is manic. He has all sorts of problems. How did we get here? And what's the lesson we're learning? Okay. There's as always, there's so much we could talk about. But what I remember how I told you when we talked about they wanted a king. That the way God works is when we look at at judgment on sin, and I've talked about this before, and maybe this year I won't fall and bust my head open, because last year I was supposed to teach the whole book of Romans, and it didn't happen because I fell. And so y'all know I constantly quote Romans because it's one of my favorites, as are the other 65 books of the Bible, but that God turning them over to their sin, what God does as our judgment is he lets us have what we want. Israel wanted a king. And with all of David's faults, we would never have the record of David and everything he does if we hadn't had Saul first. It's the truth of it. Saul shows us exactly what happens. What happened when Israel got what they thought they wanted. They wanted a king. Okay, here's a king. And what we see is that Israel could have had God's best. God knew there would be a king. That's not why the whole point of Judges tells us all that about king. The whole idea of a king has been brought forward. He told Abraham, kings will come from you. So that was the plan all along. But what the people picked was their best, wanting their best instead of God's best. Don't we do that a lot? The same thing. We think we know what we want instead of waiting for what God has for us, which is best. A friend of mine always says, we choose good when we could have the best. And God offers the best, and they wouldn't wait for it. It's like this. I had in my class today at school, I have 2 English 2 classes, which is world literature, that I teach 2 different periods. And one of them, I asked them the day, they always come in with all these questions, because they come to me straight out of their Bible class, and I'm not their Bible teacher. So they always come in to me, and like, we got a question, Mrs. Nance, we got a question. So like, and today, it was an hour of Bible questions. Like, which I love it, because I have a couple of students in there that are new to the faith in high school, have become Christians recently, and they don't, they had come from a different church to the church I'm in, and then they came to our school, but they were in the previous church they were in, did not believe in discipleship, and they don't know the Bible. They don't know things, and I love that they consider me a safe place. They can ask me anything without me judging, without me, we're all in this together, and we're all on this road in the church together. So they ask me stuff, and I stopped them at one point today, and I said, hey, do y'all do this because you really want to learn, or you're just doing this to get me off topic from what we're really supposed to be doing in class? Which we'll get to, and I would rather answer questions about the Bible and their faith that they need settled than have them walk out of my school confused about their faith, but understand a book we're reading. I'd rather have them wait a little bit on the book and understand their faith better. So we asked, all of that said, it was like, explain the Trinity, Mrs. Nance. How was Jesus fully God and fully man? Explain, like, all of these bouncing off, and, it starts with one. It's like, well, while you're asking, can you tell me? So it was like that today in my class, and which I love. Listen, I love that. It's just like when y'all ask me questions. That's fine. I'll answer questions all day. And so they were asking me, and one of the questions was specifically this. They didn't know that's what they were asking. Was, like, the plan of God. And how are we not, like, when the actual question was, in eternity, if there's no sin present, then will we just be robots and all this? So I said, you're asking about the will of God. And I said, you won't have a sin nature anymore, so you won't want to go against the will of God. So I said, we'll talk more about this. So it was a lot of those kind of things, but this is it. So you can either have God's best or his second best. What does his second best look like? You can have his directive will or his permissive will. He'll let us have. It's not that it's, in some things, it's not that it's bad. It's just not his best. Saul started off as a good king, but he wasn't the best. He was good. He just wasn't the best. And it's one of the things that we see through this as we understand Saul. And it's one of the saddest things to look at, that no man ever had a greater opportunity than Saul. And no man was ever a greater failure. So, what do we learn from that? That what we see is Saul was continually looking for the blessings of the world and never got them, and got angry at every other person around him. What we need to see as a child of God is, apart from him, there are no blessings. He is our greatest blessing. And Saul missed it all. So, we'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.